What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Father-Son Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Paul.
My name is Justin, and it's our start sit episode. So we have our third host on the show. What's going on, Sam?
What's up,
What's going
Sam?
on, boys? Always fun to talk to you guys every week.
It's always a pleasure to have you on here.
Yeah, so we're doing start sits, but I think before we get into that, we go right into the Thursday night game. What happened last night to the Cardinals, Dad?
The Cardinals look so bad right from the start. Denver's defense just tore them up right from the start. Josh Allen.
Rosen.
Sorry. I don't know what he's doing. He threw
Was
that
it like
first interception. Boom, the game was over right from the start.
It was like a 1.9 QBR he had.
I don't know.
You got minus 3.4 points.
Solid. Hopefully you didn't start him. If people had to start him, I'm sorry. That was
The best part of that game for me was when Emmanuel Sanders took that flip, threw that touchdown, and Sutton dove for it in the end zone.
I was surprised.
Yeah, right.
I didn't think Bill Musgrave had it in him.
I had that play in intramural football this week, same exact kind of thing.
Yeah, there you go.
It worked. They took one out of our playbook, but yeah, now Cardinals look bad, and my prayers have been answered, saying that Mike McCoy finally got fired. Hallelujah. David Johnson owners rejoice. Fitzgerald owners probably rejoice. The whole offense rejoice. They just got to fire everyone, I think. Clean house right now.
Well, hopefully we'll have to see what happens. But even David Johnson didn't really do nothing. I mean, Fitzgerald had one touchdown, but the whole offense is just terrible. Hopefully things change for them now.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. No fantasy value to be had anywhere. And that team, it's just bad. That game, I don't know. Even as a Broncos fan, did you watch the whole game, Sam, or did you turn it off at halftime?
No, I watched it.
Yeah, I was waiting for that Lindsey touchdown.
Man.
Yes, I mean, it was like 28-3, and I was like, this is just awful.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, I'll take those ones.
The running backs there, Sam. What do you think of the Denver running backs?
Lindsey looks better than Freeman, but I would have to watch the film because I'm sure that Freeman was facing a lot more stacked boxes. But I think that might be just due to they don't use him in the passing game, so they know they're going to run him. So
yeah, shows their hand.
But it was nice. It was nice to see both of them score. Booker still played way too much. I don't know what their obsession with Booker is. VJ was like this last year, I think, but he wanted Booker to start. And this year, he doesn't. I mean, there was one play where he was in to block, and he kind of tried to cut the linebacker. Kind of got him, but missed, fell down, and I think it was supposed to be a screen to him, but he never got up. Like, it was the worst effort I've ever seen. So I just don't know why they continue to give him snaps.
The only thing I can think of is maybe because payroll, but he's not going to pay that much, so who knows?
Denver's defense looked so good last night.
Yeah, they did.
Man,
dude, you could go out there and play cornerback and look good against freaking Josh Rosen in that scheme. What are you talking about?
How many fantasy points did they score last night, that defense?
26, because I started them.
Wow. So there's that. So if you started anyone on the Broncos, it looks like you had a decent day other than Royce Freeman.
Well, Royce Freeman didn't have a bad day. Keenum didn't have a great day either.
No.
He's one of my sits this week too. So, and Rosen for that matter, and Kirk for that matter.
Yeah. So now let's get into those starts. Who's your QB start this week, Sam, for all games?
I'm gonna say I'm gonna double down on Baker Mayfield here.
Double down Baker Mayfield. Yeah, we got it wrong last week. I doubled down with you there. A lot of missed touchdowns.
Yeah, so I'll defend that in that there were 2 dropped touchdowns by Callaway last week. So he was 2 drops from having a big day. But if there's any game in their schedule, it's against Tampa Bay where he's going to go off. And I think that's just going to be true. This is going to be another high scoring game. It's Tampa Bay. Their secondary is terrible. For DFS purposes, I really like Baker Mayfield, David Njoku, and Jarvis Landry stacked. I like all 3 of those. I like that as a stack this week. But
really,
Yeah. So Baker should have a good day again, without if they don't have the drops. And this is the week for him to do it. So.
Yes, indeed. That's my DraftKings stack. Except for I had then the Njoku, Callaway, Baker, and then I'm loading up on the running back pricing. I'm not doing no cheap running backs in this lineup. I have another one with the 3 you have. I have a couple. I have 4 this week, I think. 2 of them have Baker in it.
Nick Chubb.
Now Nick Chubb. So now I got to probably look at my lineups and rechase it. It's Chubb time this week. It's cheap. He's probably gonna be too much owned. I don't know. I feel like
he's kind of a free square this week. I think he's 4,800 on FanDuel.
oh my gosh, it's probably less than DraftKings.
And you're probably looking at 15 plus carries this week. So, and he's a lot more efficient than Hyde.
And way better. And our dynasty team, Dad, we're rocking with it. Our justified 5th pick.
We're going for it. You got to put him in now.
I would say how the prediction came true.
For us, for any
in the
right there.
in the offseason, the prediction came true. I said this was going to be a lot like the Adrian Peterson situation. And I think it's almost the same week. I think it was 2 weeks later, 1 week later. I think it was week 5 last year when they traded Peterson away. So Hyde can maybe go off now. We'll talk about that news real quick, I guess. So I think ups value for Hyde, ups value for Chubb obviously helps Duke Johnson out a little bit more because Duke Johnson's not going to take any carries. So I think 70% of the carries are available for Chubb to take. So we'll take that. That's almost a bell cow workload. And then Hyde is probably going to take over the Yeldon role, and I think Fournette's probably going to go to IR.
The best thing we did was get rid of Fournette in our dynasty league.
Yeah, we did. Sam, you think that
smart move?
You think that Fournette's going to IR now, or you think this was just a signing move for Jacksonville just to bolster their backup?
I think it's to bolster their backup because there was something that came out that they expect Fournette back week 9. So
after the bye, yeah.
I don't know necessarily what they're doing because it's not like Yeldon wasn't doing a good job. So
I think it was because Yeldon will show up on the injury report and they didn't really have a third back behind it, and it was just Corey Grant, and they probably I'm guessing that Cleveland sold him cheap. They got a mid-round pick for him. They traded away a mid-round pick, so maybe they're like, yeah, why not just pick him up? I don't know. Teams don't really care who they have; they just want to win games. So double power with Yeldon and Hyde, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think he's going to IR. I don't think not yet.
No. And
the hamstring injury is just so tough to come back from.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. It lingers the whole season unless you come back 100% healthy, and they've given him enough time off now, hopefully, to where week 9 he will be healthy. But my start for the quarterback, we're back to the quarterback start stats, Andy Dalton. I think he's top 5 this week in a matchup against Kansas City. We had that rule, Sam, the Kansas City rule, where if you have an offensive player going against Kansas City, you start him. And Andy Dalton's got that in the Sunday night matchup, and that's who I'm going to be starting this week, and I'm hoping for top 5. And he looked decent against Pittsburgh last week, who he usually struggles against. So now he's got the Chiefs. I think 40 attempts is the floor, and streaming appeal. And if you have him in 2 quarterback leagues, expect big numbers from him.
He's also played well. He's also played well the last time he was on prime time, so expect for him to have a good game.
There you go.
I like both of them picks. I even like Baker Mayfield because the Bucs have allowed 12 passing touchdowns to opposing teams in the last 3 games, and I think every week a quarterback has thrown for at least 340 yards against Tampa Bay. So I like both of them starts.
So who do you have a special star, or was Baker one of yours?
No, I like Jameson Winston again, but I'm going to give you a guy that's I know I always say his name wrong. So
it's Matthew Trubisky. This is bad, dude. You gotta work on this, dude. Shaquan Barkley, dude.
All I know is I'm beating the crap out of you the last 3 weeks.
Everyone tuning in to hear that, my dad is beating the crap out of me.
So I'm gonna go with Kirk Cousins. He really hasn't been a great fantasy option lately in the last few weeks.
Dude, why are you picking all these studs?
Because who?
No, actually not. Kirk Cousins has been doing badly. He hurt me last week, 21 points, but this week.
But I expect him to get back on track this week against the Jets. The Jets in the past 3 games have allowed almost 1,100 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. So in each 3 of those guys have at least scored 25 points. So I look for Kirk Cousins to get back on track.
Yeah, and I think the Jets are missing some linebackers this week too. So that helps.
Even though the Jets got a decent defense, but he's going to turn it around this week.
Yeah, I'll throw one more
Right.
start in there after your our three. I'll give Joe Flacco, New Orleans
like
prime
Flacco,
matchup,
too.
and I can see flirting with QB1 numbers this week. So now we're going to sits. Sam, who's your QB sit this week?
Well, I already talked about Rosen and Keenum, so that came to fruition pretty well last night.
Yes, it did.
Alex Smith versus the Cowboys. He's currently QB 26 in points per game. And their offense only has gained 8th fewest yards per game and scored the 9th fewest points per game. So, and even last week he didn't look good. He just had 2 touchdowns. So, and then the Cowboys have been very good on defense. They've allowed the 4th fewest yards per game, the 8th fewest pass yards per game, and the 2nd fewest points per game. They've also given up the 6th fewest fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. So this is supposed to be a low scoring effort. I think it's going to be a battle of defenses. The over under is at 41, which is the lowest for week 7, and I expect it to go that way. They're probably going to lean on their respective running games on Ezekiel Elliott and AP. So I wouldn't be starting either of the quarterbacks in this matchup.
Yeah, that's my sit. The other side of the ball, I got Prescott. He had a good week last week because it was 82 yards rushing and no interceptions. But once again, this dude does not throw the ball more than 30 times a game, it looks like. And for all the Cowboys fans out there, the dude is not a good quarterback. I'm sorry. I don't like him at all. He can't throw for over 300 yards. He's struggling. I don't even know. Dak Prescott is overrated, in my opinion, because of his rookie year. He had an amazing rookie year with no film on him, and film came out, and then ever since then he's just been struggling. Doesn't really have a good wide receiver, so maybe they'll actually get a first-round pick for Amari Cooper. That'd be cool to see, but I don't even know if they'd use him right. So Dak Prescott's my sit for me against Washington, who's 7th in the league to fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. And they played really good against Cam Newton last week. You know, Cam Newton still had fantasy points, but Cam Newton's different than Dak Prescott because he actually runs the ball consistently rather than just spurts games here and there. So that's my sit for this week. Dad, who's your sit?
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, really?
Did I say that name right?
I don't. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, but that's surprising.
He's coming off his worst game last week. He had under 10 points against Buffalo. He's been sacked 25 times this season. I think he's going to be playing against an angry Jaguars defense who have lost the last 2 games on the road. I'm going to sit him this week.
Can I play devil's advocate here?
What are you going to do?
I just said Dak Prescott's a really bad quarterback, right?
Yep.
What did he do last week?
He had the game of the year for him.
So who's better? His wide receiver 1 being, I guess, Cole Beasley versus DeAndre Hopkins.
I get where you're going with it, but honestly,
Ramsey's not
if you look
100%
at it,
though.
Well, but I would say that somebody to look at, and we can talk about it when we get to the wide receivers, is Kiki Kuti.
Yes.
If they're playing out of the slot, because DJ Hayden's their QB or their quarterback 3. So, and that's what I mean. Beasley was playing out of the slot. He wasn't facing Ramsey or Bouye. So, I think Watson's a lot better than Prescott. But I mean, it's something to think about.
I think it's gonna be interesting because it's also divisional rivals, so that plays factors you can't even measure with. Well, you can measure with numbers, but you can't really measure just by like saying, "Oh, last week they did bad," because they want to win these games more than they want to win the other games, just because they have a chance to make the playoffs, so they get first in that way. So
I think Hopkins is hurt too, isn't he?
He was on the practice report. I think he's playing. Hopefully, he's playing. That's the minute you've seen. I think it's game time decision, or did he get taken off?
I'm not sure.
He missed practice Thursday and then limited reps Wednesday. I haven't got an update for Friday yet. But yeah, I get the sit, and I think there's obviously better options. I'd rather play Flacco over Watson this week, so if Flacco's available,
yep,
let's shoot him up. So.
What'd
you say, Sam?
And I'm going to add a sit here just because, well, and it's just something to discuss about. I'm not saying you can necessarily sit him, but Andrew Luck is somebody that there is probably better options out there, like Flacco, if you can play him, because Buffalo has allowed the last 3 games. Buffalo has allowed the fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks And the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, the sixth fewest to running backs. So they've had a really good defense the last few weeks, or after those first 2 weeks, really. So if you have a better option than Andrew Luck, I would think about sitting Andrew Luck this week as well.
Yeah, for sure. Why? This is where you play matchups with the quarterbacks, because you can have a elite quarterback in Andrew Luck who has a really tough matchup against the Bills, and get a more elite quarterback in Flacco going against the Saints. So, yeah, I like that right there. Definitely looking who's available on the waiver wire. Always pay attention to that. So let's go on to running backs now. Unless you want to make a QB bet, Dad. Do you want to make a QB bet or no?
I'll take Winston. Who are you going to take?
Goff.
Ooh.
You're on. Put it on the table. You got to at least try to win one bet. I can't turn any bets down.
I like Pauly. I like Pauly pushing back here.
You're going on Goff, though, who's got one of the best offenses. So you're trying desperately for a win. So I'm
trying to win bets.
Oh man!
All right, yeah. So now we're taking reverse roles. I didn't call you out when you took the easy bets. I'm taking the Julio Jones versus the field, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll do that. I always had to make the. You know what? Go ahead. Running back start. Who your running back start, Dad? Let's see.
Put it on the table. That's the bet. My running back start of the week is going to be Latavius Murray.
Mine's gonna be Todd Gurley. Mine's Todd Gurley.
Dalvin Cook is going to be out again.
Yeah, what the heck? Oh, hold on. What's wrong with Dalvin Cook? I'm mad about that.
I think they're holding him till he gets 100% is what I think they're doing.
I'm okay with it.
They can do that with the way Murray played last week.
I have no running backs.
Till he gets 100%. No, in week 6 against Arizona, Murray was dominant. He had 24 carries, 155 yards, and a touchdown. And he also, I think he caught a ball for not much, but 3 yards, but it's still a catch. So it was the best performance by a Minnesota back this season. So look for him to have another big week against the Jets with Cook being out.
Yeah, I like that. I like that pick right there. So Sam, who's your start for running back this week?
Oh, here we go.
Please say it. I'm ready for it.
Peyton Barber versus the Cleveland Browns.
No.
I wasn't expecting that one. I thought it was going to be someone else, but I like that. Let's hear why.
So this is exactly what I had written. This one's a little bit risky. So we
like the risk. We
know the Buccaneers have been pretty awful on the ground, except for last week when Barber went off, quote unquote, went off for 82 yards on 13 carries. And who did they play last week? The Falcons.
Faced the Falcons last week.
And I also mentioned that as well. That was against the Falcons. But he's got a good matchup. The Browns have the fourth most yards rushing have allowed the fourth most rushing yards per game. They're ranked 24th in DVOA against the run. They've allowed the 8th most fantasy points per game to running backs. And this includes 3 games of 130 or more yards allowed. So he's risky, but he has a good matchup. He looked good last week. Maybe Winston, and maybe that's why Fitzpatrick was good, was that they forced Fitzpatrick to beat them. So maybe with Winston here, they can open up the playbook a little bit more, or they're getting a little bit more running room. I don't know. But if you're looking for kind of one of those risky starts that may pay off for you, I think Peyton Barber's a good one this week.
I do like that.
I like that pick too.
We like risky.
Cleveland has allowed 5 running backs to either score or gain at least 90 yards this whole season. So it is a good matchup for Barber. And Ronald Jones I even thought last week he was going to start taking over, but that was not the case.
He did catch all 3 of his targets.
Yes,
that's a shocker. Like, wow.
But as far as the running game, I mean, they haven't had one yet this year. Last week they had a decent one, so hopefully they continue to do that, like Sam said, with Winston instead of Fitzpatrick at the helm.
By the way, I also had Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay as starts against the Cardinals. Freeman didn't do great, but he still got a touchdown. So.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I like that. Now, my start, Todd Gurley. I think San Fran, easy man.
Get out of here. Nuh-uh. I don't believe you.
I was leaning towards I can go with the little Detroit game, little Kerryon Johnson rookie. I think he's a good start. I like him.
I think he's gonna have his breakout this
He's
week.
in your article, which people should definitely go check out. So go over to Sam's Twitter at FFStompy and go read that article. You'll see it tweeted out.
Just because you said that, Sam, I'm starting him in one league.
Gotta do that.
That's not my start, though. That's the guy I like. But my start is going to be Nick Chubb now. It has to be Nick Chubb. I can see this guy going in.
Wow.
Yeah, he's against Tampa Bay, who's an awful defense. Don't even get me started on that one. And he's going to definitely penetrate some defensive lines. That's from the Zach Douglas. And I can see Chubb just going to work. I think he's going to be a running back 2 with some upside. He's going to have at least 15 carries, it looks like. And I'm ready for him to put in the work and get some bonus points. And if you have leagues with 40-plus yard rushing touchdowns, I can see him break one loose. That's me predicting the future right there. It's going to happen now. I just spoke it into existence. Taking one out of LeVar balls. Taking one out of LeVar.
Can you see the future on this? Latavius Murray having more yards than Chubb?
I'm not betting that. I don't know how huge. I don't.
All your talk about Chubb, which I do like.
We have Chubb. Okay. Listen. I will say more total yards. I will say Tariq Cohen has more total yards than whoever the heck you just said, Latavius Murray.
No, I'm not doing that.
Oh, why not? Who else is going to take carries away from Latavius Murray?
I like Cohen also.
All right,
a better running back.
More yards, Joe Mixon or Latavius Murray?
No, Joe Mixon. Move on. You're trying hard to get a win.
Trying. That was a joke. All right, more.
So be very selective to stay on top because you're trying to trick me. It's not going to happen.
All right, running back sits. Who's your running back sit, Dad? We'll go you first.
I really like Marlon Mack this week. So my
sit
of the week is going to be as a start. So my sit of the week is going to be Nyheim Hines.
Whoa, they're like identical, bro.
Guess what? I'm gonna disagree with you this week.
All right.
They're Polly.
Let's hear a bet.
We're gonna have another bet on.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna have another.
We love
bet.
it.
Look, his downside from last week. Mack is back in action after missing 3 weeks. Hines went from 13 total touches in week 4 against Houston and 22 in week 5, and at New England to just 5 total touches at New York. So I think Mack is really going to get into his work, even though Nyheim Hines is going to be used in the passing game. I just, with Mack being back, he's my sit of the week. In order for him to have a big game, he's going to have to get more involved in the passing game.
And the table is yours, Sam. Let's hear this.
Let's hear it, Sam.
Marlon Mack's my sit of the week.
Hey.
I already talked about Buffalo. They've allowed the 6th fewest points to running backs over the past 3 weeks. They're ranked 7th in DVOA against the run. You can argue that the Bills have had the best defense over the past 3 or 4 weeks in the league. He actually had a good game in week 6, but that was against a middling New York Jets defense against the run. Faces much more stout defense this week, so I think Max but he's not going to do well this week. I don't really like that game as a whole, so I'm not a fan of starting really any of the Colts.
It's going to be a tough matchup for him, too, against Buffalo. But the Bills have also allowed 4 rushing touchdowns in 4 road games this year. So it is going to be a tough matchup for Mack, but
so we got Mack as a sit. We got Hines as a sit. I'll follow the trend. I'll say Jordan Wilkins as a sit. I mean,
no, get out of here.
Okay, no. My sit. My sit this week. It's a little surprising. I'm gonna say Sony Michel. I'm gonna say Sony Michel is gonna disappoint owners who are thinking the same thing the past 2 weeks as a 100+ touchdown guy. I think he's gonna get a lot of work in this game still, but I do think that he's not gonna get a touchdown. I do think he can flirt with running back 2 numbers, but definitely not running back 1 numbers. I think Chicago, even though Khalil Mack's a little hurt, he'll play. I mean, if I'm Khalil Mack, I want to sack Brady as many times as possible. That's just the way I'm thinking it. But I don't know. We'll see. He's been hot. I do like him. I just traded him away, and I just traded for him. So I'm unbiased here. I'm just thinking that this is his toughest matchup yet, and James White is going to be more involved than people think because it's at Chicago, and Chicago's defense has been pretty good as of late, other than last week. But I think they have some pieces.
Yeah, mind you, Frank Gore ran for over 100 yards on 15 carries.
No one was worried about Frank Gore because they were like, oh, it's just going to be Kenyon Drake, and then Frank Gore comes in and just goes off. But this time they're going to be focused on Sony Michel. They want to. I can see the game plan. Trust Bill
Okay.
Belichick in these situations. That's my sit. And a guy I'd play over him would have been Philip Lindsay. So hopefully you guys read Sam's article before Thursday night.
Well, unfortunately, it didn't get published, but hopefully you were following me. And
That's even better.
I posted that tweet to tell you to start them. So, all right, Paulie, we're gonna do Mac versus Hines.
We're gonna do it.
All right, put it on
Hey.
the table.
We're gonna
Put it on the table.
Put it on the table. There it is.
I hope Lux has shoulder problems or something. We're gonna
Wow.
bet it. All right.
Wow.
Sam, put it on the table.
They put it on the table. Dad.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. Who's your wide receiver start this week? I want to hear who your wide receiver that you like this week is, because I have a bet for you.
Well, I'm gonna give you my favorite wide receiver start of the week.
Is it going to be Julio Jones?
No, it's not Julio Jones.
Who's your favorite wide
It's gonna
receiver
be
this week?
It's gonna be the one and only Golden Tate again.
All right, okay.
Oh.
Before we get into it, he catches a lot of passes. I like his matchup this week because Xavier Howard plays on the outside. He's in the slot. Okay, so more catches this week. Golden Tate or Saquon
What?
Barkley? I'll take Saquon.
Why are you going with more catches now? You're trying to sucker me.
Because I
into
wouldn't do yards.
where you
Otherwise,
can
we
get a win.
want to do yards and catches. I'll do Saquon Barkley or Golden Tate, yards and catches.
We're gonna do a wide receiver against a wide receiver. I'm not doing that.
It
Look,
technically
the
is
Dolphins.
Saquon is our best wide receiver.
You're absolutely right, because the other one's a head case. Now
I'd be a head
he's
case too if I had Eli. Eli sucks.
Look, the Dolphins have struggled with slot receivers all season, and Tate should be the best of the Lions trio this week. In 2 games on the road, Tate has had 15 catches for 241 yards and 2 touchdowns on 21 targets. That was against San Fran and Dallas. So I love Golden Tate this week, start of the week.
Start of the week, I do. In DraftKings, I do like the stack of Matthew Stafford and Golden Tate, and that's a little thanks to thequantedge.com, who we are sponsored by. You guys can go use code FSFF at checkout over there for $10 off your first month. So if you're tired of getting crushed by the pros, DFS players, and sports bettors, listen up here. TheQuantEdge.com has the tools you need to play like a pro. They have a lineup optimizer, injury tool, wide receiver cornerback matchups tool, head-to-head tool. So that's all those tools. You're going to be armed with everything you need to win. You can make up to 150 lineups in seconds. See matchups to exploit, compare players to help you make the right decision that you're on the fence about. You get exclusive access to industry experts, articles, podcasts, and the TQE community by participating in a premium membership chat, which you can do any day of the week. There's always someone on there to talk to you. So over here at Father Son Fantasy Football, use promo code FSFF to save $10 off your first month. That stack's going to do well this week, Dad. Like you said, for all the reasons you just said, the Golden Tate against the slot receivers, slot cornerbacks, and how bad Miami is against slot wide receivers, and they have a connection there. So I like that.
Yes, they
Sam,
do.
who's your start, Sam, for wide receiver this week?
I'm gonna go Chris Godwin.
Ooh, a little deeper one. Let's hear why this one.
Yep. So he's had a touchdown in 4 or 5 games. Tied for the team lead with 9 targets last week with Jameis Winston. The Browns have allowed the 8th most yards to wide receivers, including 4 20-plus fantasy point receiving efforts. So this could we've already talked about, I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. The over-under is 49.5. So if it is high-scoring, I expect Godwin to get a decent amount of targets and a shot to get a touchdown.
I like it.
that. I like that. You
Now-
went
now
deep.
before-
Oh, go ahead, Dad.
No, I like that pick also. But before you decide on your wide receiver, make it good, because that's going to be the bet against Golden Tate.
It's not going to be the bet against Golden Tate, but this
Yes,
guy
it
is
So
a this
whoever
guy.
you pick is our bet.
No, you can't just say that. Okay, oh, all right, fair enough. You want to play this game? I'll play this game with you, Dad. I will play this game with you.
It's your start of the week, so it's got to be good.
I am going to be the mediator here.
Well, my dad. Okay. Sam, I have a great start for us. It's a nice little sneaky start, but my dad says the one who I choose right here is who he wants to put up against Golden Tate. So Adam Thielen's just gonna go off this week against the Jets
get
defense.
out of here! You.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
take that.
Okay. No, you won't. No, you won't.
gonna
Stop.
take
I'm not letting
that.
you do that. I'll do that. I'll double it up also with Jarvis Landry.
I actually like that bet a lot.
That's fair, but like if you want to do Thielen too, I'll take a win. So Thielen and Tate, and then we have a separate bet with Jarvis Landry and Tate. Sounds good. Put it on the table. My starter of the week this week is Traquan Smith. A little deep little flex play. I picked him up on all my leagues waiver wire. I couldn't not. This guy is a stud. On yesterday, it was announced that Ted Ginn is out for the year. He's on IR. So in Week 5 with Ginn out, Traquan Smith played 67% of snaps, 111, and 2 on 3 targets. I expect him to get more targets now as Drew Brees likes to spread the ball around, and you see Michael Thomas's targets dip a little bit the past 2.5 weeks. So more snaps to play means he's on the field more, he's running more routes, and he is the second best receiver on this team in my opinion. And I think Drew Brees can make this guy good. I like him coming out of college. I like him going into this year, and now the opportunity seems to be arising a year early. So look out for Traquan Smith as a high upside flex play who can definitely win you your week this week against the Ravens defense, who are stout, but it's Drew Brees. So have faith. That's my start, Dad. I'm not putting that against Golden Tate. I'm not trying to lose.
No, but I'll take your other 2 bets. I'll even take against Thielen because I love Golden Tate that much this week. I'll even take that bet. I'll take that bet, and I'll take the Jarvis
See, what's
Landry
gonna suck
bet.
I know I'm gonna lose that bet against Thielen. Thielen's just gonna go. I know. I'll even put it. I'll triple it up. Diggs too. Diggs is gonna have more points than Golden Tate. We love Diggs.
You know, you're just trying to get a win. I know what you're trying to do. All right. Since you showing me the jersey, we're gonna do that too because Tate's gonna go off this week.
I'll say Jimmy Graham has more points than Tate this week because that's 0.
You stop. You can't take my guy Jimmy Graham.
0 points. That's how much. All right, who's your wide receiver sit, Dad? Let's run through these sits real quick for people. Tell them who to sit. Give them one reason why, and we'll try to keep this.
I'm gonna
Don't
sit
say
Corey
I'm-
Davis this week.
I mean, yeah, the offense is hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie, that hurts. So talented. What happened? What happened to Tennessee?
Someday he's going to be a must-start in fantasy football, but I don't see that day coming anytime soon. I'm still confident in his talent. He's going to start to produce on a field someday on a consistent basis, but with that offense, I don't think it's going to happen. So you're going to sit him.
Wow.
He's coming off terrible performances too against Buffalo and Baltimore, where he only had 5 catches for 73 yards and no touchdowns. Keep in mind that Davis has just one touchdown in 17 regular season games.
Yeah, but that touchdown was crazy.
Yeah, but
He jumped like 42 inches in the air and was just like, "Oh, give me that," and then won the game against the Eagles when they can't even beat the Bills. That makes sense, right?
I'm going to give you just a quick one after that. I won't say nothing about it, but you're going to sit Marvin Jones too, because I like Tate and I like Galladay. I do not like Marvin Jones this week. There you go. There's a bonus pick.
Sam, who's your sit this week?
Will Fuller.
Ooh, let's hear
I like
this. I like that actually.
Because Kiki, I like that.
So really, he's had 3 straight pretty average games. I think he had 1 touchdown in the last 3. He hasn't been great. It's so he was good those first 2. He hasn't been great the last 3. He's been out targeted the last 3 games, 27-11 by Kiki Kuti. So I think this is a point where we can talk about Kiki Kuti because the Jacksonville Jaguars do not have a good slot corner, and the Texans would be best served to avoid A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey this week. Of course, you can't not target DeAndre Hopkins, but I think Kiki Kuti could see a decent amount of targets this week. And if you look back at last week with the Cowboys, Cole Beasley beat them pretty bad. He takes most of his snaps from the slot as well. So Kiki Kuti is a kind of a sneaky start this week against the Jaguars. But Will Fuller, like I said, been out targeted 27-11 by Kiki Kuti. And you can't sit DeAndre Hopkins. So I think Will Fuller is probably going to bear the brunt of or lose a bunch of targets this week just because he's facing off against a very good cornerback tandem.
I like that. I like that right there. Easy enough. My sit is gonna be. I was gonna actually take freaking Will Fuller, but I'll take Calvin Ridley. I think he's still not 100%. He limited participant in practice today on Friday, and Sanu did not practice. So people are like, "Oh, he's gonna be the number 2." I don't think he's gonna play that much. I think limited snaps, and I would look somewhere else. Hopefully, either at running backs who have become available this week, such as Chubb, and I'm drawing a blank on who I was gonna say, but there's another one. I'll get to that in a second. But Ridley, I would just it hasn't looked good the past couple weeks ever since his touchdown game after his free touchdown game. So this is a Giants defense who is not good at all. But I know the Falcons are gonna be up by 30 by the end of the first quarter, so they're gonna be running the ball out for the rest of the game. And I don't see a lot of value to be had other than hopefully Julio getting his first touchdown this week.
No, he's not. He's going to go for like 250 yards and no touchdowns. What are you talking about?
320. He's gonna have his 300+ yard game and no touchdowns. Against, oh my gosh.
Austin Hooper gets 3 touchdowns.
Austin Hooper is
like
gonna be the
that.
play over Calvin Ridley. I think Austin Hooper will have more fantasy points than Calvin Ridley this week. So there's that. Any more wide receiver bets you want to make? Let's go on tight ends and let's just go to tight end starts.
No, let's just go to tight ends. Before we go to tight ends, I just want to say something to Sam because I'm going to take back something I said to him last week. Even though Sam lost the bet with Ricky Seals-Jones being in the top 10, at the end of that bet, I did say most people can drop. In most leagues, you'll be able to drop Ricky Seals-Jones after last week, but the tight end spot is so tough. You're not dropping Ricky Seals-Jones.
He did bad this week, but that whole offense.
I take that back. What I said last week.
Yeah, I got a little overzealous. And really, he didn't even finish as a TE1. I think he was
14.
TE13 on the week. So, but yeah, you're right. I think I said it last week. Trey Burton's TE11 for the season, and he just hasn't looked good at all. So there's nothing you can really. It's hard to predict this position right now.
Very hard. Chris Herndon had a better week instead of Nick O'Leary. Like those are the two guys that made you not get top 12 right there, and I was like, what the heck?
You ready for a transition here?
I'm ready for a transition.
Let's have it.
Nick O'Leary.
You want to know? I'm actually gonna talk about 3 guys here because I love all 3 of these guys this week. So I actually have Chris Herndon in my article this week as a start.
Wow.
Again, got to get a little risky. Risk it for the biscuit.
Wow.
So, all right. So Quincy Enunwa was out for multiple weeks. Herndon had 56 yards and a touchdown last week, and he has a chance to step up and get more targets. He has a good matchup. Vikings are last in DVOA against tight ends in coverage. They've allowed the 6th most receptions and the 4th most yards to tight ends, and they've also allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to tight ends. The Vikings have a decent run defense, and they have a great passing offense. So the Jets will likely have to throw. And I just heard a stat today that the Jets have 3 games this year of 34 or more points and 2 of 42 or more points.
Gosh.
Wow.
So they're actually a decent offense. So I think Herndon has a chance to get in the end zone this week, which really puts you in kind of the TE1 territory or tight end 1 territory any given week. So I like Herndon this week. I'm going to keep going though. So I like CJ Uzomah versus Kansas City.
That's my start right there. But on that,
yeah.
You can go ahead and talk about it if you want. I'll just follow up.
Tyler Kroft is out multiple weeks with a broken bone. Tyler Eifert obviously out for the season with that ankle injury. So Uzomah has all of the tight end snaps. Over the past 2 weeks, he's had 8 receptions for 97 yards, which is basically tight end 1 territory at this point. Faces the Chiefs, who have ranked 27th in DVOA against tight ends. They've allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to tight ends. It's going to be high scoring again. I believe the over-under is 58.5, which is just below the Kansas City Patriots game last week. So I would expect a lot of throwing, and I would expect a few end zone or a few red zone targets for Uzomah. And then finally, and I'm going to say I think he's going to not Uzomah. This guy is going to be the tight end 1 this week, and I've been having an argument on Twitter about it. People calling me, or a guy calling me crazy. David Njoku is going to be the tight end 1 this week.
Wow.
I agree with Sam, but I'm not making a bet on that. I love David Njoku this week. The Njoku is great.
Right. So since Mayfield has taken over, Njoku has 30 total targets and over 50 yards in all 3 games that he's started. He's also added a touchdown last week. He's been his most reliable pass catcher since Mayfield has started. The Buccaneers defense is terrible. Their pass defense is especially bad. Their coverage in tight ends is even worse. They rank 29th in the league in DVOA against tight ends. They've allowed the most points per game to tight ends in the league, and they've allowed 20 or more fantasy point games 3 times to tight ends this year. So it's a huge matchup, going to be probably high scoring again because it's Tampa Bay. So like I said, I think he will finish as the tight end 1 this week.
That's a very bold statement right there.
We like bold. I like that because Njoku has his most targeted tight end, like you said, and this dude, he's gonna go off. Yeah, I can see 13 plus targets, 100 plus yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's gonna happen. He's gonna outscore a lot of wide receivers this week. And if you were feeling gutsy, like I kind of am in DraftKings, putting him at your flex and putting like one of the Tampa Bay tight ends to go opposite the ball.
Nah, putting Herndon. He's my 1
He's
percenter
cheaper.
this week for DFS.
Yeah, that's cheap, and you can load up everywhere else. You're gonna go the really cheap way of DraftKings is to go Osweiler and Wilson again this week and say screw everyone, and then just load up everywhere and put Herndon in your tight end place. That's called boom bust. That's called Millie Maker Part 2.
Wilson's actually not a bad play this week because Stills has probably got Slay, and then who else are you throwing to in that offense?
Wilson's good. I like that. That's another sneaky start right there too. But my tight end start, I was gonna go CJ Uzoma, but I'm gonna go a little bit more down the path of tight ends. I'm gonna say Nick O'Leary against Detroit. Detroit's 23rd against average points. I think if you're hurting for a start, I'm not saying start this guy over Gronk. Please don't do that. But don't start him over any of your studs. I wouldn't start him over Austin Hooper this week. But once you get to like the Evan Ingram coming back, I may want to play Nick O'Leary just in hopes for a touchdown because there's no way Evan Ingram's catching a touchdown. I don't know if anyone's going to catch a touchdown under Saquon from this, like their own 10-yard line. Like it's so hard to watch Giants games. It's fun to watch Giants games, but then you look at the score and you're like, oh, it's not fun to be a Giants fan. But Nick O'Leary, I can see touchdown upside, and he's sneaky good. So Brock Osweiler to take over that job, and he's going to bring it back. I made a lot of Brock Osweiler comments on Twitter in the offseason, like just trolling other analysts in the industry. And now it's actually a thing, and I'm happy about it. So, do you think that he steals Tannehill's job, or do you think Tannehill, when he comes back, is taking it? Sam, and my dad, both of you guys can answer that.
I don't know because Osweiler's bad.
He is bad, but last week he looked amazing.
Nobody thought he would do what he did last week either.
I'm a Broncos fan, so I've seen him play awful.
Broncos fans,
but,
Texans fans have to be really mad about that.
Fitzpatrick also had 3 really good games, and then that dud against Chicago, which Osweiler. So you've heard that stat or seen that stat, right? Osweiler's first start with the Broncos, he beat the Bears. Osweiler's first start with Houston, he beat the Bears.
I actually did not.
Osweiler's first start with Miami, he beat the Bears.
Wow,
that's insane. Was it? Maybe it wasn't first start. It was first win on each team. But regardless, he's beat the Bears.
That's so maybe
Adam Gase was playing. Maybe Adam Gase was playing that. He was like, "Oh, he's gonna beat the Bears, man."
They were sitting there in like the whole week training. What are we gonna do to beat the Bears? Bears are really good now. They got Khalil Mack. They got Roquan Smith. Oh wait, Brock Osweiler is almost undefeated against the Bears. Let's put him in there. Surprise him 30 like an hour before game time, which just shocked the world. Oh, that's crazy.
But yeah, I don't. I mean, they have too much money invested in Tannehill. I don't think Osweiler can keep it up. He's so bad that he's going to lose the job.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too. Who's your tight end start? And we'll quickly go through sets because we're already running out of time.
I have this guy alongside as my backup tight end to Jimmy Graham in our main league, and I haven't yet to start him yet because I start Jimmy Graham every week, but he's outperformed Jimmy Graham the last 2 weeks, and that guy is Austin Hooper. So finally this week I get to start him because Graham's on a bye.
I'd always start him over Graham. I don't know why
he's been exceptional the past 2 games. He could even be better this week against the Giants, especially if Ridley, like you said, and Sanu, they both might be out. I know they're both hurting. They both might be out this week, or at least limited in some fashion. So in the past 2 outings against the Steelers and Bucks, he's had at least 16 PPR points. He's had 22 targets for 18 catches, 148 yards, and a touchdown over that span. So, and the Giants did allow Zach Ertz last week to score 17 PPR points. So I look for Hooper to have a big game this week.
The Giants allow fantasy points all over the place, dude.
I know.
It's bad. So
I should have started Hooper the last 2 weeks because he did outperform Jimmy Graham.
Anytime you have Jimmy Graham on your team, you have Austin Hooper on your bench, you definitely got to make that swap and keep Jimmy Graham where he is right now, which is on your bench.
Okay.
Well, you lost the bet last week to Jimmy Graham. As a matter of fact, the last 2 weeks. So leave Jimmy Graham alone. You don't want me to go over that bet, did you? You took Braid over Jimmy Graham last week. Really? What were you thinking?
Braid did good for
I
fantasy
actually didn't.
owners.
I didn't mind it, but he only got one target.
You got one catch for a touchdown.
We
and
take
Jimmy
those.
Graham,
We take the touchdowns.
Jimmy Graham didn't score any touchdowns, but he finally did go over 100
Jimmy Graham
yards.
didn't have Cobb or Allison in the lineup. What do you mean? Like,
Doesn't
dude,
matter.
it's okay.
Doesn't matter.
I will
Leave me
say.
alone because you're losing bets against him left and
All right,
right.
more points rest of the season. Ready? Rest of the season. And
I'm not doing no bets rest of the season. Stop.
not including this week because he has a bye week.
No.
Why? Are you scared? How many touchdowns does Jimmy Graham have?
Tell Sam how you lost in the league again too. Let me get it. You had 178 points to my 196. In our home league, Sam, I scored 275 points.
I heard that.
Okay. Yes, you did. You scored a lot of points. You basically had, like I said, the DraftKings millionaire lineup. I don't know how, but I will see you in the playoffs. Maybe.
If
I make it,
down slope.
but even if you make it as far as I make it, but
I could bring up the panic DMs from you. Oh, should I trade these guys for this? No, get out of here, Jeff.
Hey, I'm making panic moves, panic trades in this league. It's not a good. Dalvin Cook is hurting me. My whole strategy for this draft was 2 running backs and little wide receivers. When one of those running backs is
you might not even make the playoffs in the home league.
Oh, I'm probably not at this rate. This is a bad rate.
Take a look at the standings. You're in last place.
Oh, I'm in worse than last place. It's bad. But who's your tight end sit there? Let's roll through these quick. Let's just say names and give a reason.
I'm just gonna say Vernon Davis because he had a great week last week. He's not gonna do it again.
All right, easy enough. Sam, who's your tight end sit this week?
OJ Howard.
OJ Howard. Why is that?
Browns ranked 3rd in DVOA against tight ends. Outside of the 1 week against Jared Cook, the Browns have held all opposing tight ends 200 double-digit fantasy points.
I like that. That was actually my tight end sit this week too. I'll double down with both of you guys. I'll say they both don't play those guys. And Jeff Swam, don't think about playing him either. I'm telling you, not going to be
Greg
good.
Olsen too. Sit Greg Olsen against Philly's defense.
Sit Evan Ingram. Sit Evan Ingram too against Atlanta. It's not good. All right, so that's gonna do it today for our start sits episode for week 7. Already week 7. That's crazy. Time is flying by our season already. So thanks again, Sam, for coming on and hosting. And where can they find you on Twitter? And what else are you doing nowadays in the fantasy since last week in the fantasy community?
Yeah, so at FF Stompy on Twitter. Still writing my weekly start sit column. 4 straight weeks with 57% or higher hit rate. So we're getting better.
That's good. In case people don't know, that's good.
That is good.
I'm at like a 5% hit rate, so we're good.
Still doing the rookie watch stuff for IDP guys for anybody who plays IDP. And then we still have the promotion going on at sportsabermetrics.net for the premium tools. So go to sportsabermetrics.net, follow at sportsaber or sports_saber. And when you go to sportsabermetrics.net, sign up for the premium tools, put in the code FSFF, all lowercase, and you'll get 15% off. So
nice.
Yeah. And again, I've been winning money on DFS with that. So, I mean, if you like money.
Hey, I won money last week. We both with code FSFF over at sportsabermetrics.net and then at thequantedge.com. I only won $8 last week, but we take those. We take
seven here.
I saw that 7 and 8. We take them. We take the gains. Okay, some money's better than no money. That's like a box of ramen, at least a couple. I don't know. I'll take
By the way,
it.
I'm gonna go out with this. So I have Dalvin Cook in one league, my home dynasty league, and I have Alvin Kamara as well. But I also have Nick Chubb. So I'm kind of lucking into a lot of stuff this year, and I have the most points scored and the best record. So.
Nice.
Thanks, Cleveland Browns for trading Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, thank you for trading Carlos Hyde. We also love that here. We love it. It's amazing. It's time for Nick Chubb. I liked him coming out of Georgia, and now hopefully people are gonna realize that this guy is who the Giants should have took in the 2nd round and should have took a quarterback 1st round, but no.
Nick Chubb gives me a chub.
Nick Chubb gives everyone a chub.
He's moving forward, Chubb, and so is Kerryon Johnson, because look for him to have a big week this week, too.
And
Oh, yes.
not Royce Freeman.
Nah.
Lindsay, baby. All right, that's going to do it for this week. We'll see you guys next week for our Week 8 start sets with Sam. And thanks for listening, and yeah, we're out.
Bye, boys.